Hello my friends, happy Monday. Hopefully you can hear me because I am in the NMR room and it's quite noisy with all of the chillers and all of the instruments in here, so hopefully you can hear me. I did not vlog last week because it was quite hectic to say the least. I'm currently trying to prepare for my trip to France. Last week I was doing a lot of isolation on the HPLC because I am trying to isolate compounds to go to France. And to be honest, I just needed to give myself like a week off of not thinking about vlogging and only focusing on my lab work. So this week is the last full week I have before I go to France, which is absolutely frightening. And I am still doing a lot of preparations this week. I'm on the HPLC 3 times this week. I'm trying to isolate more compounds. I'm trying to prepare the samples to go to France. And I'm feeling a little bit stressed, I'm not going to lie. I'm feeling quite stressed about the France trip in general because we still have a lot of organising to do before I go. And I go a week on Sunday and it's currently Monday, so I do not have much time before I go to France. Anyway, aside from the France preparations, like I say, I've been running the bioassay because I needed some more results for a paper that I'm writing, and those results were great, so I'm very, very pleased about that. I also managed to isolate one of the compounds that I've been looking for. I think I might have mentioned it in the last lab vlog that I thought that there was a yellow compound present in one of my samples. Turns out that is not the sample that I purified, but I have managed to find the compound in another one of my samples, so that's good news. That was a nice win last week, actually managing to isolate one of my compounds in a good enough amount, and the NMR was really, really nice also, and the LCMS, so the liquid chromatography mass spectrometry data all matched up also, so yeah, very pleased about that. But I don't know where today's gone. It's 1:30. I'm trying to get proton NMR just now of the compound I was speaking about because I isolated more on Friday, and I've just been so busy today that I don't know where the time has gone. I had a meeting with my supervisor this morning to kind of discuss my progress. I was telling him about the compound and the bioassay results, so that was great. But then after the meeting, I had to sit and go through all of my next steps and go through all of the action points that he gave me from the meeting. So that took up quite a big chunk of my time. And now I'm in the lab. So busy, busy, busy. So that's my little update on what I was up to last week. I'm going to wait for this NMR to finish running, have a look at the NMR. Hopefully it looks good and like my first NMR of the first time I isolated the compounds. Yeah, that's it for now, I think. I do have a lab tour up on my channel. I'll link it down in the description box below, but here are our NMR instruments. I'm using the 400 megahertz just now because I think it'll be adequate for the amount of sample that I have, but we also have a 600 megahertz, which is really, really powerful, and it's finally back running again. It hasn't been running for such a long time. And there is our mass spectrometer, which is a quadrupole time of flight. Yeah, so this is our mass spec and our NMR room, where we get our LCMS data and our NMR data. Guys, my NMR looks so good, so much better than the last one. So basically, if you don't know what NMR is, I don't think I can explain it in this video, but basically for NMR you need a good couple of milligrams to get a good sharp peaked NMR, and my peaks look beautiful. They look so much better than last week. So basically I did purification twice last week. From the first purification I got 1 milligram, which is actually a lot, and then from doing the purification on Friday I ended up getting 3 milligrams. So I put all of the 3 milligrams and tested it, well, got the data from the NMR to check to make sure it was the same as last time. It should be, the method, everything was the same, but just to make sure it was clean and purified because I was using a different HPLC. And honestly, the data is wonderful. There's not too much water either because last time I struggled with the water peak because it was huge and it was taking over everything. I'm so pleased. This is exactly the data I needed, exactly the win that I needed to keep me motivated and keep me going. This is my NMR tube and I used one of the small ones, so let's see if it'll focus. So I've actually got a small tube in a bigger tube. You can see my compound inside of there. So using the small tube just allows you to use less volume of solvent, which means you get a more concentrated sample than using the big tube. I can't show you the whole NMR, but look, this is just a snippet of some of my peaks. This is the water peak. We hate the water peak. But yes, look how sharp and clean it is. I'm so happy. Hi guys, I am back in the NMR room again today. It's not the same day, it is a different day. I can guarantee that. I don't know where today has gone once again. I have this personality trait where I get really in the zone with my work and I will just work for hours and hours and hours in the lab, not go to the bathroom, not drink water, not eat anything because I'm so busy and I'm just so focused, which in one respect is good because in times of high pressure and I really need to get things done, I can be really focused and get the job done without distractions. However, when I'm in this zone of like pure focus, hyper focus, I get really, really tired because it consumes a lot of my energy because I'm putting like 100% of my energy into my work. So I'm feeling quite tired, I'm not going to lie. But I think I managed to film some things today. So I've been booked on for the HPLC today and I'm trying to isolate a different compound. So I spoke earlier, I think yesterday I spoke about how I've isolated one of the compounds I'm trying to target, and I'm now trying to target a different compound. So I've been on the HPLC developing some methods, which takes a really long time. I decided that my sample is too complex. There's too many compounds in my sample at this stage. So I decided to do solid phase extraction to kind of get more fractions which are simplified instead of just the one fraction with all the compounds in it. I hope I'm making sense, by the way, I'm trying my best. And then I injected those new fractions into the HPLC to see how many peaks I have, to see if the purification was successful, and I think it was. I didn't scan all of the fractions yet, but I've scanned a few of them, and there is one peak in particular that I am targeting because of the UV chromatogram. So the compounds that I'm looking for are highly aromatic and they've got a double bond, so I know what UV wavelengths that they should be absorbing at, so I can track that on the HPLC. So there's this one peak that is absorbing at all the wavelengths that I'm looking for, and I'm trying to isolate that peak now. So I'm on the HPLC tomorrow also, but before I continue the purification, I had a bright idea. I thought, why don't I do an NMR? Because I know what the NMR should look like for these compounds. Why don't I do an NMR to check if it is the compound that I think it is and it's not the same compound that I've already isolated, because I don't want to isolate that one again, but I know that it's very abundant in my sample and it appears everywhere. So that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting for my NMRs to run now. I'll go back to the lab and finish the HPLC stuff, and I'll just shut it off until tomorrow, tidy up my things, go and play squash, and then go home and relax because I am very, very tired. Oh, another update. I had a meeting this morning about my France trip next week and everything is organized now, which is great. So, okay, all of the plans are organized. I am not organized. So I need to prepare all my samples for going away next weekend, which is fine. That shouldn't take me too long. But I'm excited now for the trip because I know what's happening and I know the assays that we're going to run, and yeah, it should be great. So that was a very productive meeting this morning. Anyway, I'm going to wait for the NMR. I realize I have just blabbed on for a few minutes there. Hope you don't mind. And I'll speak to you guys in the lab tomorrow, back on the HPLC. I'm hoping that this is a compound that I'm looking for, this nice sharp peak here. I dried it on the rotovap and currently, oh, I almost lost that sample there. Currently can't see very much. I just added some more of the fraction in here, but when it was dried I couldn't see anything, so I don't know. Hopefully I can automate the system and let it run overnight, and fingers crossed we get another compound before going to France. Hello friends, happy Thursday. I have just been checking the peaks from the HPLC purification that was running overnight. So I automated it, I set the time so it would collect the peaks at specific times, hoping that the retention times would not shift, and the retention times have shifted. So for the first maybe like 10 runs, it's consistent, and then after that it goes a bit weird. So I need to spend some time now before 10 o'clock because that's when my colleague needs to use the HPLC. I need to spend some time trying to see if there are any overlap of peaks from the collection because I want this compound to be as pure as possible. So if there was some collections where the peak has shifted so much that it's actually collecting another peak, then I have to put that back into the bulk sample to dry down to purify at a later stage. Hope that makes sense, but basically because of the temperature fluctuation in the lab overnight, the retention time of the peak, so what time it comes out of the HPLC system, out of the column, can shift. And because the system we set, okay, from 4 minutes to 5 minutes my peak will come out. It means that if my peak does not come out between 4 and 5 minutes, the system doesn't know that. It just still collects between 4 and 5 minutes. So I need to spend some time figuring this out. I need to collect my waste, start drying the waste. Yeah, we'll see how it looks. Maybe it's more promising than it looks like on first glance. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a liquid at the bottom, which I am hoping is a pure compound. It's the peak that I was collecting overnight. So I'm going to just try and dry it down some more. And then hopefully, well, I will weigh it, and then hopefully we'll have enough to do the NMR, and then hopefully it will be a pure compound. If so, 2 pure compounds in 2 weeks is an absolutely huge win for me and my PhD. Fingers crossed. So you can see a bit better now that it's like a yellow oil. I have dissolved it in some more methanol. I'm going to dry it in a weighed vial now so I can see what the weight of it is, and hopefully it's enough for NMR. Hello friends. You will have seen this morning that I sorted the HPLC for Joy because it's not my HPLC day today, and I did run my sample overnight. The purification went mostly well. I dried the sample, turns out I had 0.4 milligrams, which is 400 micrograms of my compound. So I tried to do an NMR anyway. The NMR wasn't great. It's not good enough to actually tell what the compound is, but I do see peaks, which I would expect for the compound that I'm looking for. So it's all very promising. However, at this point, I don't have enough, so I need to purify it again next week. But my main thing that I'm trying to do this afternoon is to prepare samples for the LCMS, because tomorrow is the last day of LCMS run before I go to France next week. So all the data that I need for going to France, I need to get it tomorrow. So I'm in a frantic rush to try and get these samples prepared because I'm going for dinner tonight for my boyfriend's birthday, so they need to be finished before I leave. I'm tired. I've been working non-stop today. I feel like I've been working non-stop since I've come back from Berlin, just trying to get everything organized for this trip. But it will all pay off, and hopefully when I go to France I will have a little bit more time for writing, less lab time apart from doing all the bioassay stuff over there. So hopefully it will be a bit more zen than currently. Anyway, I need to go to check the samples in the speed vac, see if the other ones have dried. I've prepared 4 samples out of 11 so far. It's 2:45. I don't have very long left. Oh, pray for me guys, pray for me. Hi guys, not gonna lie, today's been difficult. I'm a little bit hungover. I had some drinks last night and I'm very tired and not feeling my best, and I had a lot of work to do. So just to fill you in on what I got up to today, it's Friday by the way, I started preparing the samples for the trip next week. So some of them are freeze drying, some of them are speed vac drying, and yes, I started to make an Excel sheet to organize all of the many samples that I'm taking with me, giving them numbers, writing down the weights, just so I've got all that information in one place, nicely organized. I did an NMR. Did I do an NMR? Yes, I did an NMR, and I found that I have another compound, my second compound in 2 weeks. I don't know why everything is happening all at once, but this is great news. I am winning at last with my PhD, and I'm managing to isolate those compounds, so I'm very, very happy. And yeah, that's about it really. The main thing today was preparing the samples. So I will continue that on Monday and Tuesday next week and Wednesday. And then, yeah, that's my last days until I head off to France, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. For now, it's 5 o'clock on Friday. We just had our group meeting and I am going home. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in next week's video. Bye!